join us today. Fidelity Investments and I have the privilege of being part of a group of dedicated volunteers who have thoughtfully created content that's meant to inspire, equip, and motivate you today. Let's go over the agenda to get started. We'll just skip ahead to the next slide here. We'll kick off with some relevant advice and inspiration for us this morning. Then we'll dive into interview skills featuring relevant things for today, virtual and phone interviews. Next, we'll discuss our ongoing resources with the online toolkit. And we'll close with a very useful wellness moment. Make sure you stick around through the wrap-up as we have 4 $25 gift cards that have been donated by Pick and Save that we'll be giving away. And lastly, I do want to share a quote that I felt was appropriate to keep in mind for our goal today. One important key to success is self-confidence. An important key to self-confidence is preparation. I'll say that again. One important key to success is self-confidence. An important key to self-confidence is preparation. So let's focus in, everyone, because this session will definitely get you prepared.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jane Thoma, and I'm the Vice President of Volunteer Engagement here at the United Way of Greater Milwaukee and Waukesha County. And I'm so excited to introduce 2 of our presenters today who will be giving us some career advice and inspiration as we launch the event. So I'm happy to introduce Lisa Drews Anderson. She's a continuous improvement project manager and has been with UMB Fund Services for 10 years. In addition to her professional role at UMBFS, she is also the Giving Campaign Ambassador, corporate chair of the Women's Business Resource Group, and serves as the Diversity and Inclusion Council member. Her background includes knowledge of the customer service, hospitality, warehousing, distribution, manufacturing, and finance industries, all with an emphasis on process improvement. Examining processes and procedures with an eye for gaining efficiency and reducing expenses has always been a natural fit for Lisa, and she has taken that passion into her community involvement and volunteerism. She is currently volunteering as an operations consultant for Father Jean's Help Center. She has been involved with the United Way for several years as a volunteer, Project Lead graduate, and a planning committee member for this seminar. And she's also volunteering as a tax preparer with La Casa de Esperanza during tax season. Her biggest driving force is using her opportunities to help other women find their passion, their confidence, and their voice. I'm also happy to introduce Lenice McGee, server and leader, and she understands that growth comes in every season of your journey. She has over 17 years of experience working in the Department of Workforce Development. She currently serves as the district director, which covers Waukesha, Ozaukee, and Washington counties. She graduated from Fisk University with a Bachelor of Arts degree in sociology and has a master's degree in human services from Springfield College. Lenice is the founder of Future Entrepreneurs Moving Ahead, an establishment that looks to motivate and spur youth to be strong, resource-driven, and goal-oriented entrepreneurs by providing mentorship programs. She is also co-founder of Big, Beautiful, and Blessed, an organization that looks to promote positive self-image in young women through modeling, youth workshops, and seminars. She's a board member on the Negro League Board and the Generosity Project, in addition to leading monthly networking meetings for women entrepreneurs and providing resources and connections. Lenice is proud of the accomplishments in her life and would not change any of the lessons that guided her to her path today. Lenice is grateful for the mentors and advisors in her life, and she reciprocates that to others. The 3 words that have changed her life. I accept me. So welcome, Lisa. Welcome, Lanice. If you can join us, great. And let's move to our first question for our presenters. Wonderful. Great to see you, Lisa. Great to see you, Lanice.
Good morning. Yes, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. So we've got some questions that we thought we would just kind of reflect on and share your guidance and things and lessons that you've learned along the way. So let's start with our first question, which is really relevant in this time frame. And we'll start first with you, Lisa, on how do you create your own personal confidence during times of uncertainty?
Well, I've been in the same position as several of our attendees in the fact that I at one point was laid off and needed to find a new job, and it was during a time when the market was very much flooded. And during that time, it becomes difficult to stay positive, much less believe in your own skills. And I think one of the biggest things you can do, especially if you're at home, which most of us are now and doing this virtually, is to make sure you're getting up and starting your day just like you would if you were going to work, and making sure that you're feeling empowered before you sit down at the computer to do that search. The other thing I would suggest that I do is stop and give yourself some grace. Don't assume that you have to do it 8 hours a day and that you can't take a break and find something to do to change your mental capacity. Maybe you go for a walk, maybe you read a book, something that isn't related to that search. And I would say the same thing if you are going in for an interview, or if you are still in a job and you have something you need to discuss with somebody or something like that. Find something in your wardrobe that makes you feel powerful, that makes you feel like you're put together, because it will change your mental game too. The other thing that I would do is just stop for a minute and remind yourself why you're good at what you do. Just because you may not be working right now doesn't mean you're not good at it. It just means that it wasn't a fit at the time, and you're going to find another fit.
That's great. Reminding ourselves of what we're really good at. We all have special skills and talents and should have confidence in that. Lanice, how are you keeping your confidence during these uncertain times that we're in right now?
Yes, it's a great question. Those are some great answers. Wow, I love that, Lisa. I agree. I think when times are uncertain, the number one thing I want, I think that's important for all of us to remember, that times may be uncertain, but we're not. We are still who we are. And so what happens is a lot of times is because we associate our worth to exactly what we do. When things shake that or move that, it sometimes can discourage us. But just really keeping in mind that that one thing does not define you, and don't allow it to confine you. And that's what ends up happening. We get confined in what we've lost. We get confined in what we see, and saying like, oh, it's over. We have to be mindful of our language. I'll never get a job again. I'll never have this again. Be really mindful of what we say, because again, it does not define who we are. It's just a part of our journey, and we still have the skill set. We haven't lost the skill set, even if we are not currently working, or even if how we're working and how we're showing up has changed. And the reality of it is, I believe, like, yes, it's hard. Yes, they're going to be struggle days and things of that nature. Yes, especially if you have children, you have to adjust, like, how am I going to show up now and I have this responsibility and that responsibility? I just say take a deep breath. Understand that even if today was like not one of your best days, I had a struggle day like a couple of days ago. I kept doing something like incorrect. And so I emailed the person. I said, you know what? today is, not my best day, but I'm going to show up tomorrow because I know tomorrow I have another opportunity. And just remember that the sun rises again, you will rise again, and just kind of keep that in the forefront of your mind, and really our perspective. Look at our perspective of the things. And then I think that helps us in uncertain time and knowing that our worth is still there, still valuable. And one more thing, like Lisa said, just what are you good at? And if you're struggling, write it down, look at it. So that way, when you just can't, because when things are happening right in that moment, sometimes you can't think of what I'm great at or what is good or what is well, but, oh, I wrote it down. So let me go read that and reflect and kind of remember that. So thank you.
I love that, Lanice, when you said, tomorrow's a new day. We can come back and try again. I know that's something that a colleague of mine always used to say when we'd have a tough day. Let's come back tomorrow and try again, and it's going to be great. It's going to be better. And I always loved that conversation that we would have and feel good about the next day. Here's another question, and maybe Lanice, let's start with you this time. What kinds of skills do you think will serve someone well in any industry or role? So those skill sets that can really fit within any industry or role.
Yeah, I love this question too. These are some really good questions. So I think it's important when we think about our job, when we think about work, career, that we understand there are people involved with that, right? And so every job, every career has a mission and a goal, and every person at that job has their individual mission and goal. And I'm sharing that is because wherever we work at, it's a relationship, a different type of relationship. So having that mindset in there. So the number one goal is communication. In any relationship, including work, if we don't communicate, there will be issues, there will be concerns. So employers look for people who can communicate well. And another thing is when you understand the mission and the goal, you know what to add to that conversation. You know how you fit in. You know how you add value. And so therefore, you know what to conversate about. You know how to communicate those things well because you see how you add value to that. So number one, I think is communication. Also, I put showing up because the number one thing that I hear from employers is like, can you get somebody that's going to be here? So you can have all the skill set in the world, but if you don't show, I mean, what good is that going to do to me? If I have somebody that's loyal and I can train them, I would take that versus someone who maybe have all the skills, but they're not dependable. So it's important to know that you will show up, and anytime that you can't, that goes back to the number one, communicate that, because sometimes people just don't show, or they don't explain what's going on. And sometimes if you explain, I have A, B, and C going on, something happened with my daycare, something happened, they can work around those issues. But if you don't share anything, you don't communicate because you don't understand the value that you add to that company and vice versa, there is issues. And I think the last thing I want to share with that is that always look for reasons versus excuses. So it's easy to say why you can't do something, why something will not work. It's easy to come up with an excuse. It takes time and it takes intention to come up with a reason why it will work, a reason why you can communicate with your coworker. So always look for that. One of my favorite quotes goes, good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good is your better and your better is your best. I love that because if we have that mindset, we're always working towards self-improvement.
That's great. Lisa, what skills do you think will serve someone well in the different industries and job opportunities in our region?
Well, one of the things that I've realized through being the resume session facilitator for this seminar for so many years is that a lot of women walk in here with their resumes. Sorry, we're virtual, I know this time, but even when we were in person, would come in and say, I've been an admin assistant for this many years. This is the only thing I know how to do. And that's not a valid statement. that goes back to what Lenise said about letting your job define you and confine you. So in that position, you will have developed other skills like teamwork, leadership, problem solving, being analytical, being organized. Possibly you've done some event planning, some project management. Any of those things you've done outside of the definition of your role really are skills that you can take to any job and use to build a resume or to sell yourself in an interview at any time. I do agree with Lenise that communication is the biggest skill you can take with you from any job transferring to any other position. The one thing that I have learned is that, and you're going to hate that I say this, but networking. And I know it terrifies everyone, but it's not that standing in a room with a cocktail in one hand and trying to make small talk with people. That's talking to your manager. That's learning to talk to the executive director of your company or the higher up management or the people around you in the departments around you. Because the more people you connect with, the more asks you can make, and the more idea you have of what's going on in that company and where your career path might go. I'm the women's BRG lead for my Milwaukee office, and I'm transferring over to the corporate lead over the next couple of months. And one of the things that a lot of women have said is, I wish I had more confidence in talking to management. Well, you know what? Those managers aren't terrifying. They're not expecting you to come up and tell them what's going on in the company. They want to hear about your cat, your dog, your baby, you know, how your squash game went over the weekend, whatever it is you do. So make sure that you're working on that networking. And that networking spreads from working within your company to also networking outside of it. And I know that we're also talking about interview skills and things like that. And to get those interviews, it helps if you have made connections with people on LinkedIn, if you have made connections with people outside of your job and you let them know you're looking. So without a doubt, communication is the top skill you can take with you. There's a whole list of them. You can Google what transferable skills are, and it'll give you a list and it'll help you build your resume. But you have to be able to sell yourself, and you have to be able to communicate with the people around you about the things that are important, whether it's in their job or just in life, to be able to move on to something else. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, we'll move to our third and final question. And I invite all of our seminar attendees to also utilize the question section here to write in some questions that you would like to ask Lenise and Lisa. So please start putting some questions in that particular section, and we'll address those at the end. Here's a question I love because my daily work is about having individuals, inviting individuals in our community to share their time and talents. Volunteerism is a wonderful way to build skill sets and to network and to learn how to communicate. But ultimately, volunteerism is about improving lives through the gift of our time and talent. So, Lisa, I'll start with you in asking, how has volunteerism impacted your career journey? And I always love to hear about favorite volunteer experiences and why it was so memorable.
Jane hates this when I say it, but she is the reason that I do so much volunteer work, and she has helped my career tremendously. I had called United Way asking about becoming a financial coach, and Jane said, well, we don't have that, but we're working on this job seminar. And I started on the planning committee, and I've been here ever since. but that also gave me connection to United Way and has allowed me through my job to work as the United Way ambassador for the campaign. It's given me other volunteer experience. And what that has allowed me to do is to be a go-to person within my company when they say, hey, we want to do a volunteer experience. What's out there? And I have built that network that I was just talking to you about within the community in terms of volunteerism. And the one thing I will say right now that you may not be thinking about as you're looking for a job is if you've been looking and you're wondering what you can do so that there isn't a huge gap in your resume, go out and look for a volunteer position. Go out and find something that will use the skills you have so that you can put that on your resume. Because just because it isn't a paid position doesn't mean you're not gaining skills by doing it. I have gotten to the point where I now present quarterly to over 200 people at the company, either about the volunteer experiences or about our business resource groups. And that isn't something I imagined I would do when I started my current position. But quarterly, I stand up in front of almost our entire company and talk to them about what's going on in the community and how we're making improvements and what we're doing and what they can do. So my volunteerism has highly impacted my career journey, even though it has nothing to do with my actual position at the company. As for my favorite volunteer experience, I volunteered last year at Project Homeless Connect, which was probably my most profound volunteer experience, where I got to help 2 homeless mothers navigate through what United Way and other agencies out in the community can provide as resources. And that one was really profound. But my favorite still to this day is doing the VITA, which is Volunteer Income Tax Assistance. And the reason that that's my favorite is because when people are coming into an organization looking for help, one of the things that they're there for is because they can't help themselves at that point, or they're experiencing something that is draining or stressful or terrifying. And I can sit with them for 30 minutes to an hour. I can do their taxes. Most of the time, because of their income level, they're getting a refund. And they walk out feeling 100 times better with a sense of relief that their taxes are going to be done on time and that they've got money coming back that'll help support their families. And I enjoy it so much that I signed up again, and I actually am working on becoming a financial coach through La Casa. So my best piece of advice out of today for you is go out there and look for a volunteer experience. Look for something that you can do in the community that will use your skills and can be put on your resume, or that you can talk about in an interview, and show that you're still working on yourself while you're working on finding a job. Thank you.
Great. Lanice, when I was reading your bio, I saw the volunteer work you're doing as well. Let's hear from you on how volunteerism has impacted your career journey.
Oh my goodness. Everything that I'm doing actually came from or was a result based upon me finding things for my hands to do. And so Gandhi says the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in serving others. And I love that because it is so true. And a lot of times there are people who are like, I really don't even know what I want to do anymore. So volunteer. It's a great opportunity to discover yourself. It's a great opportunity to expand your skills and even find things that you like or that you're like, you know what, this is not good for me. And so it's just a wonderful opportunity. And volunteering this question really ties into the first question too, like how do you build confidence, especially when things are uncertain? Volunteer. It'll help you change your perspective from seeing the road as a dead end to seeing it as a cul-de-sac, right? I used to live in the cul-de-sac. That way it doesn't end. You can get out. You can find a way to get out. And so volunteer helps you to do that. With me, I've been volunteering, and it helped me in my career because when the secretary of a department, this was the secretary before we have now, came and they wanted to do some work in Milwaukee, in the city of Milwaukee. This was after the fire and stuff happened in Sherman Park and all that stuff happened. And so he was looking to really get connected with the community and what could we do. And at this time, I was a lead worker, and I had been a lead worker for a while. I had applied for a supervisor position, never got the opportunity to move up. And when that opportunity came, my name came up first. They're like, oh, Lanice volunteers in the community. She knows the community, everything. So I got to be the assistant to the secretary based upon me volunteering. And so after that, I'm just telling you, everything changed for me. So it was a great opportunity. And then an opportunity came up for a district director position, which I'm in now. And so I interviewed for that. And one of the requirements was that you had supervised other people. Now, I never had in my work life a supervisory title. However, Jane, when she read my bio, said that I'm the co-founder of Big, Beautiful, and Blessed. It's volunteer. I don't get paid for it or anything. It's just a passion that I have. And over in that, I lead, there's about 84 women now, but I lead the women. I create events. It's so much that I do in that when I interviewed, it was transferable skills. And Lisa talked about that. So I'm in this role because of my volunteerism, because I was able to gain the skills to know, okay, I might not have had the title of a supervisor, but I have the supervisory skills. I know what to do. And so it's really an opportunity for you to expand yourself. Volunteerism is just an amazing way, especially when you're feeling down and out, go volunteer. It will really help change your perspective, and it will really help ground you and say, you know what, yes, my reality is this, but somebody else's reality, how can I help them? And when you help someone else, it boosts your confidence. It helps you so much. So I definitely say get lost in volunteerism, get lost in serving other people, because the funny thing is, serving others, it still serves you. Like, you end up getting the gift. That is so amazing to me. Like, okay, I did all of this, but yet I feel like I'm the one who received. And so definitely get lost in it, and you'll find yourself. It gives you double back than what you gave.
Amazing. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Lanice. I'm going to just ask and see, we invited some questions for Lisa and Lanice. Do we have any questions, Alex, for our presenters?
Yes, we do have two questions. The first question is, what is the state of volunteering due to COVID? Are there any opportunities on hold?
I can address that. So there's still many opportunities to volunteer. I know, depending on where you're at, but I don't know if you've seen, there's a lot of people giving out food now because of COVID. A lot of people are cooking more, spending more. So that's a bill that definitely has risen. And so there are different communities that are giving away food. I think it was this past weekend, there was a truck that had 900 boxes of food. So they needed volunteers, but there's rules and regulations of how they do that. So there is opportunities to volunteers. There's phone banks. There's so many ways that you can volunteer. I know United Way has probably a list of ways that you can volunteer, but also if you just Google volunteer opportunities and then put your city, things will come up. So there's so many different ways that you can volunteer, that you can give. There's organizations that do different things to help raise money or raise awareness. not that long ago, there's an organization that was looking to offer therapy to people who couldn't, maybe they didn't have the insurance. It's due to COVID. You know, a lot of people are going through a transition of losing things, and so they need that. And so they did like a fundraiser, and they had people help them raise funds. So there's so many things that you can do in COVID, and you can get creative. You can think about, well, what is it that I need? And how can I, if you need it, I guarantee somebody else needs it. And that has helped me in life too. Like, what do I need? If I'm struggling in this area, how can I put my hands to help other people? And then you can create your own volunteer opportunity as well. And so I love what says live united, live. Even in COVID, we have to live. And so how does that show up? The greatest way to show up is volunteering, because you're still living your life. You're not putting it on hold. You might just be changing the direction a little bit.
I'm happy to jump in as well to give a little United Way perspective in terms of our volunteer center and what we've been promoting. Obviously, health and safety first. There are some of our nonprofit organizations that have suspended volunteerism just due to, you know, being first and foremost health and safety. But we have a number of opportunities on our website, unitedwaygmwc.org. Go to the volunteer section, and nonprofits on any given day can post urgent, pressing volunteer needs. What we're promoting at United Way is really small groups, you know, where there's social distancing. We also have virtual and remote volunteer opportunities. Lanice is right in terms of hunger and food insecurity is one of the urgent pressing needs in our communities. So many of the food banks and food pantries in the area have posted the need for volunteers, Feeding America, and some of our other United Way partner agencies. So I encourage you to go and take a look at that website. A couple other big needs. If you want to volunteer from home, ERAS in Waukesha actually is looking for individuals to call isolated seniors in our community. You can imagine the isolation right now. And so they run a wonderful program where you can get connected and really place weekly calls to individuals just to check in and see how they're doing. Maybe even run a couple errands for them if they need something. So I know that's an urgent need right now as well. And giving blood, volunteering as an individual, pay attention to the Red Cross and Versity. They're always looking for blood donors, huge need right now. In fact, we're going to be hosting a blood drive later in November, and that will probably be posted on our site as well.
I just want to add to tutoring. Like, parents are in need of help. Like, that has been a huge need. I know someone created a private Facebook page and started, because she's been doing homeschooling, so she's very skillful. She has all these games and things like that she's done. Maybe you can help in that way, because that is a huge need. Sometimes parents just, and especially if they have multiple children, they need the assistance. So there's so many ways that you can help and find things you're passionate about as well.
Great, thanks, Lanice. Alex, one more question. You said we had two?
Yes, we do have one more. Can being a stay-at-home parent be a transferable skill to the workforce?
Yes. Stay at home is a job, okay? You have to look at, what are you doing? You are managing your time, you're multitasking. What else are you doing while you're at home? So really change your perspective and look at the skill sets that you are using. Your budgeting. So, I mean, there's a list of things that you are doing that you can take and look at. Okay, I'm at home, but what skills am I using now while I'm at home? And how can that transfer to any type of leadership skills? Because you're leading a whole family there. All right. So there's a lot of things that you can take from being I'm a stay-at-home parent, so mother or father, you can take those skills and use those for, and this is just in general, that you can use those skills even if you're not like full-time at home, but now you're full-time at home and maybe you're volunteering or you're doing other things. So how are you managing that? Is your project managing right now? Okay. So really just take that and look at, okay, what skills am I really using when I'm doing this? Because you do it naturally. Sometimes we don't even sit and think like, wow, I did all of that in 8 hours today. Like, how did I manage? So really sit down and just maybe write down everything that you've done today. Do it for a whole week and then look at that. How is this a skill set? How can this help me? So really just taking that time to be aware of what we do versus we just do it naturally. So yes, that is a really awesome question.
Right.
I have to back up what Lanice said, which is you have to remember to step outside of that role and think about what you're doing, because this goes back to our question on what skills can be applicable to another job. It's still a job. You're still working every day. If you're participating at the kids' school, before we were virtual, if you were helping with event planning, if you were doing any of those things, organization, maybe you help organize their after-school sports, or you participate in whatever activities they're in. Those are transferable skills that you can put towards your skills on your resume, and you can use that to sell yourself. People, I think, don't see stay-at-home parents the same way they used to when they go out into the workforce. They see it more as a benefit that your kids got to have you at home, and now you're ready to help improve yourself as your kids are moving on.
Excellent. Well, we're going to transition. I have to say this has just been a wonderful conversation this morning. Lisa, Lanice, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. Very, very inspirational and helpful, and just really great to connect. So now we're going to transition to our next theme, mastering virtual and phone interviews. And I'm so pleased to introduce Lori Batani to all of you. Lori's the Vice President of Integrated Services at Interforce, Inc. Lori obtained her BS dual degree in Human Resource Administration and Psychology from Ottawa University and graduated magna cum laude. It has an MBA from Mount Mary University, where she is an adjunct faculty member. And as we were talking about volunteerism earlier, gosh, listen to all of the volunteer work that Lori is sharing her time and talents. She's obviously been involved with our Women's Job Seminar Planning Committee since we began our work in Waukesha County with this. She is involved with Professional Dimensions, Tempo, the Waukesha County Business Alliance, the YMCA Circle of Women, the Sharon Lynn Wilson Center for the Arts, Women Business Enterprise National Conference, Alzheimer's Association, which is just really near and dear to my heart, Susan G. Coleman, Wisconsin Performing Arts Fund, and Pearls for Teen Girls, which is right across the road from our Milwaukee United Way office and our wonderful United Way partners. So pleased to have Lori here sharing some tips and guidance really around this new interview environment that we're in, so much of it virtual and by phone. So welcome, Lori.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jane. And I just have to say, after what we just went through, I am so excited. The wonderful conversation that Lisa and Lanice had, two amazing women who just give of themselves and have touched so many lives. Their nuggets of wisdom and ideas were just phenomenal. And Jane, I love your idea that you just came up with of the volunteering by touching the elderly. We all have an ear and a voice, right? And isn't that an easy way to really make a difference in someone else's life? So As we move forward, I just wanted to say thank you everybody for being here, taking the time out of your day to participate in this virtual learning on how to interview. In the past few years, I have been involved, and we've really had some great conversations on what interviewing is like. And I know we're in a time right now where virtual interviewing is a little different. And I must say, I have been at home since March. I'm working from home, and I have had so many meetings just like this. So it gets to be something that you get comfortable with. It's different from everybody, but it's a ability that we have to communicate and to talk. Sometimes I find myself talking really fast and I have to remember just to slow down, but it's a learned thing. And so hopefully having these discussions and talking through it, we'll learn a lot more about how you can present yourself on an interview. So the first question that I wanted to ask is, what would you like to learn today? If you could submit your comments using the questions panel, but there's so many different things in the past that we talk about when it comes to interviewing. Some of it we just talked about previously with Lenise and Lisa, and I'll get to that in my presentation, but we all come from a different place. We all have our own experiences, and I think it's important that we appreciate that and learn from each other. And I just want to know what it is that you will look to learn today. I want to make sure that I touch on that. So while you guys are going through those questions, I'll start out with my presentation. So 3 tips for acing your next interview.
Lori,
So now you found a job, yes?
just so there was one response, what platforms other than Zoom should be prepared to use for an interview?
So there are a lot of different platforms, and it's going to be dependent upon probably the company that you're going to be working with, because they'll be sending you an invite. So I've seen WebEx, I've seen Teams, Zoom is one. So it really depends. I think what is important is to get on early. You can log on and look around and find out, where is that mute button? Where is that where I put on my webcam? And one thing that's really important is that you always use your webcam. You want to be able to face your interviewer and make that connection. So there are a lot of different things out there. My suggestion would be that you just log in early and get to feel it a little bit, feel where the different buttons are and how you would present yourself. Great question. So 3 tips for acing your interview. So you found that job you're really excited about. So let's make sure that you have the tools to show them that you would be a great employee. You want to start off on the right foot. So be prepared. Make sure that you're prepared to show your best self. So showing your best self, there's multiple ways of doing that. First, visually, right? You want to have your best self. So you're going to dress like you would for an interview. You are presenting yourself to somebody. So you want to be manicured, so your hair, makeup, so you feel comfortable with who you are and how you're presenting yourself. The other part of being prepared is by finding out about the job that you're applying for, right? So what duties are they looking for you to have or maintain or have experience with? Have examples of those as you're going into the interview. I would go onto their website. It tells you a lot about the company, not only about what they do, but who they are. So finding out about the culture of a company is really important, because they're going to want to make sure that you're a fit for them. So for you to be able to say, I went on your website and I was impressed about this, that will go very far in an interview. So be prepared. Do your homework to begin with. Make sure that you're ready for the interview, and then be punctual. You only get one chance to make a first impression. So punctuality is very important. The ladies before were talking about being dependable. This is one important area. So being punctual to your interview is very important, because it sets the tone for you being dependable and you being on time. Be authentic. They want to know about you. They've looked at your resume. They want to know about you. So talk about you, but make sure that you maintain your professionalism and be positive. If you'd have some challenging problems in the past, we all have, but you're going to make a spin on it. Everything that I've gone through in my life, negative or positive, one thing that's wonderful is I've learned something from it, right? So as we go through our life and as we have these challenges come up, find something that you can say, this is what I learned, or this is what I took away from it, or this is how I'm going to be better. This is how I know people want to be treated. So when you are talking about yourself, be authentic, make sure that you're being positive and respectful. So again, we're going to talk about virtual interview etiquette because it's a little bit different than what we're used to. So as we started out today in this session, we got prepared. We wanted to make sure that we were prepared for today. So take a moment to look about what's around you. You know, behind you, is there clutter? Is there things that aren't very professional? You want to show them that you are a professional and that you can manage your life. And so it's a reflection of what's behind you. And behind the screen, behind here, they're not going to see that, but you will. So make sure that you unclutter the area so you don't have any distractions. So as you're talking with them, you can eliminate any distractions and you can have a real conversation with them. So go into a room that's quiet and that gives you a chance to talk comfortably. And like I said before, be authentic and be yourself. So we'd like to hear from you. A poll question. How many of you logged in earlier today to test your technology? If you can take a moment right now to take this quick poll, it's either a yes or a no, and there are no wrong answers. We're just curious to find that out. Okay, so from our quick answer, it looks that most of you logged in ahead of time to test your technology. That's great. And those that hadn't, now after today, we've learned that maybe that can help you be more positive as you move forward, making sure that you do log in, that you're comfortable with the venue, the tool that they're using for interviews, and that you can use that to boost yourself forward as you go into your interview. Great. So testing your technology, what we were just talking about. Don't wait until the last minute to test it. Make sure your laptop is charged. I always have mine plugged in. I never want to get to a spot where I'm in the middle of a conversation and have to either run and plug it in or it goes away and I lose the connection. The other thing you can check is your volume on your microphone and your computer, making sure that you're well heard, but that it's not too loud and that you can as well hear them. So make sure that your battery life is great. Number 3, communicating in this virtual reality world. So, you know, they always talk about eye contact. It's very important. And I know with the technology, it's really different because sometimes you're looking at the camera directly and sometimes you're looking at somebody on the screen. Looking at somebody on the screen doesn't make me look directly in the camera, but I'm giving them eye contact. So whether you're looking directly at the contact or at the camera or at them, they know that you're taking the time to pay attention to what they're saying. We had mentioned before, always have your camera on. It's really important for them to be able to have a eye-to-eye conversation with you. And then if you have notes, I would make sure that they're right up on the screen near you. So let's say I have a bunch of notes on a piece of paper here. By putting this right up on my screen, you're not seeing it right now, but I'm reading my notes right off the page right now and you don't even realize. So it helps us to be organized and give us an attitude of still keeping that professionalism. So speaking of that, we talked about this early. Make sure the camera's looking at you. We're going to dress for success, always to look good, smile, and be ready. And remember good grooming. Most of the screen will be on your face. So again, make sure that your hair and makeup is done and that you have that beautiful smile. So even though we are virtual a lot, sometimes companies look at their first call being a phone call. So we wanted to make sure we had that conversation with you as well. So an elevator speech. I don't know if that's something that you're familiar with, but an elevator speech is something that you can have a sentence or two that tells them about you. So prepare an elevator speech. What do you want them to know about you right off the bat? You can use a cheat sheet like I just shared, that piece of paper up on the screen that you can read directly off of. You know, Lenise had mentioned earlier to write down the things that make sure that you get across so you don't forget them. So by writing them down, you'll feel confident that you're going to hit all the items that you want to. And make sure that you are using that to sell yourself. Show how much, again, that you know about the company. Talk about things that you saw on the website. Listen actively and taking notes. That's really important as well. Active listening. We all can listen, but active listening actually means that you've heard what they've said and you can repeat back what they've said. And you're thinking about, okay, they told me that this is important to them. How can I be a part of that? So if their goal of the company is this year, if I'm going to participate in their world, how can I be a part of that? And by relaying that back to them, it shows that you've been a good listener. And then end the call with clear next steps. How can I get back to you with that information? When are you making your decision? You know, what are the next steps? It's really important for you to be able to have that conversation with them so they know that you are very interested and you were listening and you're looking to move forward. So commonly asked questions is a big part of interviewing. Most of the questions that you hear will be similar, so we're going to talk about them. Tell me about yourself. This is a big question, and sometimes this is very stressful for people to think about. But again, if you're prepared, you think about that elevator speech, and you go through these things ahead of time, that preparedness will help you very much. So everyone has done something in their life that can be transferable. Lenise and Lisa were talking a lot about transferable skills before. So let's take some time to talk about that. So it was brought up before that you're a mother, you have children at home. What kind of skills do you have that can be part of this job? And I know there are a lot of examples that you could give and a lot of examples that were talked about. So as a mother with children in a household, you have a lot to do from 6, 7 in the morning until 8 o'clock at night. During that day, all those things that are going on, you're managing them. That's time management. That is something that's important in every job. Another thing would be organization. I mean, there are so many things that you have to organize for yourself, for your household, for your children. So I'm sure you've got organization down pat. Working as a team player, that's huge. You might have a partner that you're working with. You might have another relative that's helping you. Being able to manage those different things with those different people and being a team player is key. Leadership skills was mentioned before. You are the head of a household. You are managing people on different levels, at different ages. That's a huge skill. Patience galore, project management. And another thing that was brought up that is key here and that you should always talk about is communication. If you, as the leader of that home, aren't communicating clearly to the people in the household, things aren't going to get done. So you are a very clear communicator, and you just need to be able to talk to that. So give some examples of yourself, how you're managing things, how you're working on different things. You know, the kids are at school or they're not at school, they're at home. Some of you have been able to become teachers now. How are you managing that? You know, Lisa mentioned earlier, volunteering. Volunteering can add so much to your life, and by giving, you are really receiving. I loved the quote that Lenise gave before. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the services of others. So that would go through to the personal hobbies and the interests. People are always interested to find out what you are doing outside of just home and business. So talk about those things. If you're interested, look them up. There are really a lot of things that can add value to you, to what you're doing, and you get to meet other people along the way. It's really key for your growth. So I would suggest that you look into that. Another question, why are you interested in this position? So they're going to want to know about your work experiences and your personal characteristics. These are times for you to tell them why you are the best candidate. Talk about your passion for doing a good job, your good work ethic, your ability to multitask, the fact that you run a household and it's very important to you and you take a lot of pride in that. Why do you stand out amongst the other candidates? Communicate how you fit in. Again, you're going to be able to speak to that because you've looked at their website. Dependability. As Lenise mentioned before, showing up and being responsible is key. So talk to them about not only your work experience, but who you are as a person and how your talents will fit within their organization. This is really, really important. I'd mentioned before, we all come from different places. We've all had challenges in our lives. But one of the things, and if you think about this yourself, do you want a person in your life that is strong and can show you how they fight forward and do really great things? Or do you want something that is always complaining, bringing you down? You want to be the person you want to be with. That company wants a strong person that even though they've had challenges and have adversity, that they rise above and they're strong and supportive of others. This is a game changer. Tell a story of not getting a job and how you rose above it and things you did. How your can-do attitude kept you moving forward. How you are raising your family to have a positive attitude. There is one example I can give you. It was early in my career. I was a single mom with a couple kids, struggling. And I went to a job interview. I was really excited about it. I needed to get this job. And I thought I did really well. And I stayed really positive, went through the job interview and got a call back later that I didn't get the job. And I was so disappointed. But I thanked them. I thanked them for the opportunity to get to know me. I thanked them for the opportunity to get to know them. And I was very appreciative. A month later, they called me back. They had another job opening that they thought I would be a fit for, and they remembered me because of my attitude. You never know what windows or doors will open because of who you are, or how you treat others. So always remember that no matter what you're going through, be kind, be considerate, and be positive, and that will really go a long way. So, as we're going through the virtual world, what's key is practice, practice, practice. And we have a great resource available. So Jane, did you want to introduce this?
I did. It's actually something, again, that Lenise and Workforce Development Center introduced us to. It's a virtual mock interview available to all job seekers. And so we would really encourage you to learn about this. It is about practice, practice, practice that really builds our confidence. And you can see here some of the guidance from Workforce Development on this. You would need to create an account and register on jobcenterofwisconsin.com. After you register, and we'll give you Lenise's contact information to really kind of work through this if you'd like to utilize this service. You need to have a valid email. They can actually tailor it to a specific industry or perhaps a specific job role that you're interested in. And so they send you a link and you can use a mobile app or do this obviously with computer virtually with a webcam. The job service staff will actually who created the interview will actually provide feedback to you as well. So this is something new, obviously created in this new environment, and we just wanted to make you aware of it. As we move to the next slide, you'll see that we've got Lanice's contact information for you. So jot that down. There's her phone number and there's her email address. And if you have any questions on and want to utilize this interview stream resource as a way to practice, feel free to definitely reach out to Lanice. She's there to help. So I think, Lori, this has really kind of completed your presentation and topics. I just asked Alex, are there any additional questions for our attendees? Feel free to write in any additional questions that you may want to ask Lori about in terms of interviewing, especially in this virtual world.
Thank you, Jane. And I just want to say thank you, everyone, and good luck, have confidence, and you'll do great.
So we do have a few questions if there's time.
There is. Go ahead, Alex.
Okay, the first one here. When doing a virtual interview, it is usually a pre-interview and I feel strange talking to myself. How would I work on that?
So this virtual area that Jane just talked about is perfect for having those conversations, being able to view yourself and being able to see how you're reacting, how you're responding, make sure that you're smiling, all those things. This is a perfect tool for that.
Okay, another question. When you are asked, tell me about yourself, how do you answer with confidence without coming off as arrogant?
I think that comes back to being authentic. There's a different way of saying that I'm better than anybody, or I've really worked hard to, do my best at this and whatever. It's different how you speak. Having a calm tone, being confident in what you're saying, but not being overbearing. People know that this is an interview. People know that you are going to be talking about your skills. So it's important that you tell them. And I think if you just let them know the experiences that you've had and the things that you've done, that's what they're looking for. I don't think that they're looking for anything other than to be informed about what your skills are.
Okay, one more good one here. When is it okay to take notes? If I keep looking down, then I won't have good eye contact.
So I think what I would say is, I'm really excited about what I'm hearing from you. I'm going to take a few notes so I remember, and if I have any questions, so let them know what you're doing. Let them know it's because you're interested, because you're actively listening, and you're taking notes because it's important to you. So I would just let them know that you're taking notes.
That's great. Okay, well, thank you, Lori, for sharing time with us this morning and helping us all become a little bit more comfortable with this virtual world and interviewing in today's environment. You'll see a slide here that we've created, actually a resource library. This is new this year because we want to just have an ongoing opportunity to connect with you and share resources that we're aware of. So on the United Way website, we have a special page dedicated to linking you to the different themes that we're covering in our learning series. And to be honest, also job opportunities. We have some employers that are sending us information on job opportunities. So please hop on that particular site of our webpage. We've got information on resumes, additional information on interviewing, financial management tips for just basic budgeting, which is helpful for all of us, really. Also a nice section on wellness, which we'll continue to build upon. So please go to that page, and maybe you'll discover some additional resources that you're looking for, and that will help you in your journey of finding that right next step in terms of employment.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Lori. So with that, we've wanted to really make sure that we're also emphasizing wellness, so important during the times that we're in as well. And I'm so pleased to have a guest join us from one of our wonderful United Way funded organizations, Impact 211. We've got Anna Altari. Anna is a Milwaukee-based bilingual call center supervisor who's been with Impact 211 for 2 years. Her background is in social work and serving individuals who are experiencing homelessness or who are at risk of becoming homeless. Her passion is to provide support to struggling individuals and families. And at Impact 211, her role provides an opportunity to train and motivate her team of community resource specialists who provide information and resources for emergency housing, food, utility payment assistance, rent payment assistance, substance use treatment, and recovery support. Also health and mental health services, and many other issues that threaten personal stability. Each morning, she shares a pep talk with her team to get everyone motivated to tackle some truly tough calls that are coming in. And she starts the day with, "It's time to save lives, one call at a time. Let's do this." So thank you, Anna, for joining us this morning and just sharing a little bit about Impact 211. I know the 211 service, actually, we can always continue to build awareness of this wonderful resource in the community. So I'll turn it over to you, Anna.
Good morning. I'm hoping that it doesn't turn off because I tried to turn this camera on and I would log off immediately. So good morning, everybody. I am so happy to be here. Got some great information from all of you, and I took some notes. What I like to start off by saying is at Impact 211, we have to learn to adapt to working remotely from being at the call center. At the call center, I was able to see faces. I was able to see the smiles. I was able to see the frowns. I was able to hear the tone of voice, and that would help me um, understand, are they having a bad day? Is it a good day? Um, I could remember hearing the crackling of the voice on a call, and I could hear, okay, that must be either a crisis call or a suicide call, and I would jump in. Working remotely has a lot of its challenges, and we're at a moment now that we're able to adapt to it. And um, there comes times that we're not able to see if someone's having a bad day. So with that being said, being able to reach out and check in with my staff is something that is my goal. So my goal of the day is I'll get my coffee in the morning. I make sure I got that coffee brewing. Um, Also, before I start my day, I watch some motivation videos or look at some inspirational quotes. And I also share those with my team. And I check in with each one. Hey, how's it going? What kind of type of calls did you have today? Do you need to talk? So making sure that we are aware and that we're reaching out to your staff, to each other, making sure that each other are reminded, hey, we're here. We may not see each other, but we're here. We're together on this, and making sure that we support each other. And during this session, I heard communication. Oh my gosh, in the remote world now, communication is number one. And be careful with that as well. People can perceive or have different perceptions off an email. They may feel like, okay, that person's mad at me, or that person was really aggressive in this message. So before you respond, try not to respond too quickly. Again, we have all different emotions going on. And during this pandemic, we have to be aware that everyone is going through something. They're not going to say what they're going through. But before you respond, take a step back, wait a while, think about it, and then respond uh, ethically. Um, During the pandemic, everyone is either, losing a loved one or has a loved one that's in the hospital. There's all different scenarios that can trigger different emotions. Um, and I feel that when it comes to communication, um, also, to be mindful of before you respond and perceive something differently. Just don't react so fast. Um, Again, at 211, we have different types of, we deal with different types of calls. And I have my staff coming to me in tears. I myself have tears rolling down my cheeks when I hear an elderly person saying they're hungry, or someone that says, "Hey, I'm on the bridge, I'm about to jump, I can't take it no more." Um, those are hard. Those are can become very stressful. And you just got to remember, hey, are you able to fix that? Are you able to change that? Is it manageable? And remind yourself to take a step back and stay focused. And remember, things that are in front of you are manageable, and things that are out of your control, they're not manageable. And focus on that. Um, there's a quote that I would like to share with you guys that I send to the team when we have those stressful calls, those crisis calls, or someone calling in because they need to talk to someone due to the COVID-19. They're going through some kind of emotional issue. The quote of the day is, "Stop trying to calm the storm and focus on calming you first. The storm will soon pass." And I'll send that, periodically during the day to remind them, hey, I know these calls are tough. I know the times are tough, but focus on you first. And if you need to take that break, you take that break. And if you need to check in with me, let's meet in teams, and we have kind of like a little coffee break, kind of like our little lounge area. So that's as much that I wanted to share with you guys.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that information, and as well for the work that you do at Impact 211. Definitely a necessary need for our community.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, as well as thank you everyone for the relevant content shared today. Everyone watching today, I'm proud of the steps you've taken by leaning in and being open to trying new things. So one challenge I want to throw out there, when we have so many wonderful best practices and ideas from each presenter, it can be overwhelming when there's so many things that you feel like you need to start or you want to try. The challenge is to take one item that you found impactful from today and apply it. Just pick one. Put it on a sticky note, put it on a mirror somewhere you're reminded to sit and try it. And then you can continue to take the next item and the next item. It's baby steps, and that's how you get there. We wanted also to take a moment to make you aware of some additional opportunities to continue to prepare yourself. Next week, and it's on a Wednesday next week, November 4th, same time, we'll be focusing in on social media presence, which includes LinkedIn. Then the Wednesday after that, November 11th, in PC, there'll be a fireside chat that highlights other areas to empower and create networking connections. And then our next three-part series, sponsored by CIBM Bank, will be on financial empowerment, and the dates are below. And you can find out more information and sign up on the United Way website. Also, be sure to check out the online toolkit that Jane discussed earlier. And if you weren't able to attend the last session we had last week on resumes, information from that session is available in that resource library we've created. So we need your help with some feedback for today to continue to improve our events. So we do have 2 survey questions we're going to be putting up here. And then after that, we'll be giving away the 4 Pick and Save gift cards. So, okay, the first survey question. Do you feel you've gained insight into properly preparing for your interview? So you can select very much, somewhat, not at all. Please click next to the description you think is the best fit. Okay, there we've got the results here. So very much and somewhat. So that's an improvement. We talked about baby steps. So you're not going to become an interview expert overnight, but definitely now you have resources and things to work on. So great to hear. The next question. Do you feel confident that you can virtually conduct an interview after today's session? Do you feel confident you can virtually conduct an interview after today's session? Very much, somewhat, not at all. Okay, and we have the results. Very much 29%, somewhat 71%. So definitely something that we all need to continue to prepare and work. And a lot of this is about feeling confident. We talked about being prepared, but practice is important as well. So I think that would help you feel more prepared. And earlier they talked about different ways that you can continue to practice. So next for the drawing. Alex, are you ready for the drawing?
Yes.
I am ready. So it looks like we have about 8 attendees. I've got everyone's name written on a slip of paper here. And I've got my Live United hat. I put everyone's name in the hat. Okay, and then the random drawing. First person is Lisa. Does somebody want to write these names down maybe?
I'll help you with that, Alex.
Thanks, Jane. Second winner is Jacqueline. We have Kim. And Amy. Congratulations.
So thank you to Pick and Save for being a wonderful community sponsor by providing those gift cards. We'll be in touch with all of you afterwards to connect with you and to be able to actually mail those gift cards out to you. So thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions, follow-up questions, certainly feel free to reach out to myself at United Way. We're hoping we'll see all of you or have you join us next week when we are focusing in on LinkedIn specifically, how to develop a nice LinkedIn profile and utilize that tool to help prepare you for your job search and most importantly, network. We've heard a lot about networking today. So we wish you all well, appreciate the time you spent with us today and have a wonderful day.